So now we're getting to the end of what I'm going to teach you about selectors. And just take a moment to take stock of what you've learned so far and what you already understand. This entire idea of separation of concerns, HTML is the structure, CSS is the formatting. We have structure, we have formatting. And then over here on our HTML, we have a bunch of tags. And then over here on our CSS, we have a bunch of rule sets. And each rule set has a selector, which is going to target some tag over here on the HTML. And so those selectors target HTML tags. And then the rule set has a declaration block and declarations, and each declaration has a property and a value. So just look at what you've learned so far about how the entire thing works. And we've been learning about a lot of selectors. And the last selectors we're going to learn about here are nested selectors. And don't worry, we're going to review all this at the end of this section. So there's a whole bunch of videos here. And we're going to do another review to review it all. But the next selectors that we're learning, and the last ones we're going to learn in this section, are nested selectors. So when you're looking at CSS that other people have written, and pretty soon when you write CSS, you will see tags like these tags right here. And so here's a div and a p. Well, what kind of selector is that? Like, that's a selector. And that's saying any paragraph which is beneath a div. All right, so let's see that in action. And so here under, again, 19 selectors and then 6 nested selectors, we have all children. And the CSS is div and p. So it's going to select any paragraph which is nested after a div. So here's a div, and then this one is inside the div, this one's inside the div, this is inside the div. So this CSS right here, right, is going to select all tags, all p tags beneath the div. So here's the div, and it's going to select all of these p tags right here, right? All that stuff is going to be made red. Let's preview it to verify it. First, second, and third. First, second, and third. All those were made red. So the way you do that, again, right, is in your CSS, you just write it like this. And you read it from right to left. Every p tag that is within a div. That's it. Anywhere within a div, a p tag, it's going to be applied to this. So that's the selector to select any p tag that's somewhere inside a div. These did not get selected. They're not inside a div, okay? All right, so that's nested selectors choosing paragraphs inside a div with that one tag. So then there's this other notation, which is this div greater than p. And so what that means is any p tag that is an immediate child of the div. So here's the index.html. This is an immediate child of the div, right? This is an immediate child of the div. This is not an immediate child. This is an immediate child of section. These are immediate children of body. So this is only going to select first and second. And when we look at that, first and second are selected. And here's the CSS on that, just so I'll bring it up so you can pause your video if you want to kind of like take it in for a second. But here, any child, and read it from right to left, any child that is an immediate child of a div, right? So immediate child, not like a child nested way down in there, but an immediate child of a div. All right, so that's the next one. And then we have p tilde div, right? And what that means is any p tag that is a sibling following a div, all right? Any p tag that's a sibling following a div. And so that's a sibling selector. And it's going to select all following siblings. And so here, this is a sibling of a div, and it follows. And this is a sibling of a div, and it follows the div. And the article is a sibling of a div, but it's not a paragraph. And since our CSS is select all paragraphs, which are siblings that immediately follow the div, fourth and fifth will be selected, and sixth will be selected. But this is also a sibling of the div, but it does not follow the div. So that's one place where people get confused. So this will not be selected, 0 won't be selected, and none of these will be selected, but these right here will be selected. So fourth, fifth, and sixth. Let's take a look at it. Fourth, fifth, and sixth. But not 0, not first, second, third, not something, which wasn't in a paragraph tag. So that's how that one works. Any paragraph that's a sibling following a div. And then here's the plus sign. And this is going to be any paragraph that is an immediate sibling following a div. And so the paragraph has to be like right next to it. It's like +1. There's that phrase +1 when you RSVP or whatever. Like, yes, I will attend +1, meaning I'm bringing a guest. It's like plus just one more. That's it. Right? That's how the plus works. And so let's see that in action. And so it's a div plus P. And here's the CSS for it. Div plus P, right? Which means, let me put these vertical so we can see them. Any paragraph that is an immediate sibling following a div. So that's going to be this one right here, the fourth one. There's a div. This is a sibling of the div, and it's right there. So I'm going to pop it open, and fourth was selected. So I'm just going to bring up all of this CSS, and then we'll be able to look at it. So there's the third one, and there's the second one, and then here's the first one. And so the first one, just to read them once more and kind of review what we just learned. The first one is any paragraph that is inside a div, right? So if there's a div and then it contains paragraphs nested within it, nested as far deep as you want to go, those paragraphs are going to be selected by this selector. Here we have any paragraph that is an immediate child of a div. So here we have a div, and only paragraphs that are the first level right beneath that div. You could have nested paragraphs in there inside other tags. Those won't be selected. But only the paragraphs that are immediate children of the div. And then here's the P tilde div. This is going to select all children, all siblings, sorry. This is going to select all sibling paragraphs. They're siblings to divs, but they're following the div, right? So all paragraphs following a div that are siblings to the div. And that's all of them. And then this one's only going to select the immediate sibling. So if there's a div, and then right after that div, there's a paragraph that's a sibling of the div, right there, it's going to select that one. So that's a little bit about nested selectors and some of these things that you see that, again, a lot of people who are building web pages still don't understand these selectors. So kudos to you, because you're getting it. Now I want you to work these a little bit too, and I'm going to give you some hands-on exercises to work them, because it takes a little bit of time to get used to using all these selectors and figuring out, okay, how do I target that one little thing to format it a certain way. Anyhow, we'll have some exercises to do that, but these are nested selectors: the plus, the tilde, the greater than, and then just one tag and then another tag says, hey, any P inside a div. Nested selectors.